Hey everybody, this is Derek, and in this video I'm going to be going over some comments my last video on the 2012 issue, 3 years to go. First one, I agree, Derek, that things are going a lot faster in the last few years and that it's just starting to become very noticeable. Everything seems to be moving towards a convergence and at least a shift of social patterns and consciousness unprecedented in modern times. And I really like that where you say unprecedented in modern times, because we're at the point where we're looking for a new normal, and it looks as if there really isn't going to be any type of precedented times until this whole ascension journey is over, which means that if today it doesn't feel precedented, that means another 1,000 days after the ascension, or 7 years from now, 6 years from now, it's going to be precedented, if you will. And that's what I believe now to be the best way of looking at long term. We look at long term now. Long term is now. It's 2011, it's 2012, it's 2013. It's this period of time. Super long term, you gotta play the fact that a lot is really going to happen, and that's like 2025 on, depending of course on the person, depending on your age and what the long term is all about. But I don't think we're going to have that new normal until at least near the end of this next decade, as the end of the year is also the end of a decade. Moving on, 2013 will be the 100th anniversary of the Fed. Yes, 1913 it started, taking over the U.S. government and the Fed and the new WO. Yes. Slow motion. I predict a war in 2010, droughts all over the world, a false bull market. That pyramid over Moscow was pretty trippy, huh? This was the best year ever. I started giving away all my income since August, which is pretty cool. It's provoked a lot of negative responses, and you know what? Yeah, I guess I could see how that would. Best to you from France. I usually watch all your videos and share them a lot. Thank you. You have a lot of great comments, not only on my videos, but so many others. Thank you very much. Mongo Delight, why droughts, why hurricanes, why mass flooding, why all these earthquakes, why these volcanic eruptions, why all these massive windstorms and tornadoes? The answer is because the weather intensity and frequency seems to be going higher during this consciousness shift, and droughts is one of the issues. So we're probably still getting the exact same amount of rain on Earth as we do every year, but it just means some areas get a heck of a lot more and some areas get a heck of a lot less than what they were getting before. We've seen 96 years of tyranny by the Federal Reserve, and it's just accelerated in the last decades. I think the time of the reaction is near. The Second American Revolution will happen if they cross the line, you know what I mean? And it looks like they will do it for sure. So what are you going to do? Which side are you on? Or do you just watch the poor creatures that are not spiritual enough to see that violence produces more violence? Haha, listen to your heart. Yeah, violence does produce more violence, which is why I like to get away from violence as much as possible, and all the negativity, anything that is supported with negativity, but you can't get rid of it. I mean, that's just not possible. You look back in your life and even what you're doing, you think, wow, that could be better. But to me, I think success is just finding the areas and just at your rate getting rid of the negativity and doing whatever steps for improvement. I mean, it's a process, not an event. This whole shift is concerned, and it's not just 3 years left in this shift. It's just to halftime, realistically, of this type of shift. The big eye in this, Simon says, dollar up, gold down, Dow up. I did not think that the Dow would be going up or even going sideways if the dollar was going up. The dollar's been going sideways since dollar's been going higher, but I didn't expect that to happen. I felt that was going to be the time of a market correction that would bring the Dow down to like below 10,000 and even test anywhere even as low as 9,000. But right now that isn't the case. It has not broke the top of the range, but it's getting closer to it. It did not close near the highs of the day. It never retested them after it hit the early highs today. Gerald Celente says it is Terror 2010. He has been very accurate before. A lot of the stuff he talks about to be inside jobs, black ops, and false flag acts. Yeah, big time. I mean, I look at even stuff like what's going on with Norway, and I kind of wonder what side of conspiracy is going to be linked with that. I mean, all new conspiracy stuff. It's only been the way it was. It's going to be the way. It's still going to be the way for a while. Broncos not going to the playoffs again. Ha ha ha. Totally sucks. I'm pretty much believing you because they're a game ahead right now. They control their own destiny, and they still play the Kansas City Chiefs at home, but they play the Raiders at home this Sunday, and look what that got them. Derek, what is your automatic rating? Do you open your mind and just let it flow? Just interested? A lot of times, like when this is like through meditation. I never know when this is going to happen, or at least when the moment's there, I'll know, because I have to be at the proper moment to be doing this. And a lot of times, if I'm writing an email to someone or I'm just writing whatever, I'll just all of a sudden just start writing this stuff down. And it's happened probably 15, 16 times over the last 2-3 years. And it's even hard for me to even understand it when I read it back. And then you just try to transform through. And a lot of the stuff you still want to just go through it, because a lot of the stuff that was written in the past was not accurate, and that just goes with the territory. As the one thing I've been going through the last few weeks is not to really worry about perfection, but more along the lines of balance, because once you got perfection, there's like nothing left once you got it perfected. So that's why I'm just looking towards a balance-based system, and I'll go through more of that automatic writing, but it still is in some very need of some editing, if you will. The transformation will happen long before 2012. You know what? You're probably right, but the transformation that happens long before 2012 will happen again to grander levels in that year. But you know what? I'm expecting a big transformation in 2010, 2011. 1,095 days left, yes, or 365 times 3 plus 1 because of a leap year. And do you really believe in this crappy 2012? I want to emphasize this question really big, because first off it says, do you believe in this crappy 2012? And crappy is a word of emphasis, emphasizing that it's crappy, and it's going to be crappy for a lot of people, and probably for the majority. That's why I really want to talk big about trying to be as positive as you can, and then thus potentially be in the minority for not being crappy over this next little while. 2012, big NWO lie. Well, the whole New World Order is all about lies. So I have to say, yeah, and you bought this crap like a naive kid. Very interesting. But this next line I find really interesting. You're closed-minded if you don't see how this is a part of the big new age agenda. First of all, the first thing about open, closed-minded is I work as hard as I can to have the most openest of possible mind as possible. I don't say I have the most open mind in this world, but I would have to say I would rank high amongst the Earth populace for an open mind. And if you don't see how this is a part of the big new age agenda, well, of course it is. First off, this is in cap locks here. Big, meaning emphasizing it larger, new age. Well, we're moving into this new age. Yeah, an agenda is scheduled. And that's really what the Mayan calendar is about. And that's really what I try to focus on, is that of the schedule. So I'm not saying that I'm open-minded for it to be false. I'm more along the lines of open-minded where it could be false. But if I'm over 99% sure of something or under 1% sure of something, I classify it to be that. And if there's enough evidence to persuade a difference, that's when it will change. Of course, there will be rough times ahead, but this has nothing to do with an irrelevant freaking Mayan calendar. Wow, interesting. Externalization of the hierarchy. This was the NWO plan, and such freaks like you, Derek, are spreading these lies. And the interesting thing is you don't see the Mayan calendar most likely like I do, as a lot of the big misconceptions of the Mayan calendar is the information of that is given, and it's been very difficult to try to explain what I know about it. I would probably give myself a D- in explaining it, and the only reason it's not an F is because I know a lot of people you now are saying, no, it's good, it's great, it's all right. And I just think that there's a lot to this, but I think we'll find a heck of a lot more about this information as we move on. At least that's what this consciousness is pretty much telling us. Moving on now. How fast does this pole shift take place? A year, 30 days? It sounds like a very sudden geological event. And you know what? The thing about it is I have no idea, because if I get any information through any type of spirituality, whether it be through the meditations that come to me, through any way of spirituality, and have spiritual just confidence of it being reliable. And a lot of times you got to go mix spirituality and conceptuality together, but I have very little idea of how these pole shifts can take place. I don't even know if one's going to happen, what the severity of it would be like. But I even know that literally humanity could be destroyed as far as humans going extinct, like before this time frame. And that still wouldn't be anything bad as far as the long-term time frame is concerned, because of the energy levels available at the ascension time. It's not a surprise for me to potentially see humans coming to an end, say November of 2012, and then sometime in 2013, we got the race back again. That sounds crazy, and a part of me still thinks it is, but the extra energy available, the power of this event is what would be the only reason for it to be possible. Now we got outdoor blacksmith. I don't think Y2K was really based on any historical evidence. It was all about the computer clocks, because what happened is they used sounded like 19 plus the 2 digits, meaning that 1999, when December 31st was over, it's going to go to January 1st, 1900, which was just going to screw the whole world up. And I can remember at the time thinking, well, even if the computers switch over, how is that going to be that massive of an event? And I got my computer January of 1999. I made sure that it was ready for this event. And I mean, after doing a little bit of computer work myself, PCs were no problem. You only got to think, and I was thinking at the time, that the people that have the big money, like IBM and Microsoft and all those companies, they're going to figure this out. And it's totally different than the Mayan calendar, because Y2K was never supposed to be the end of the world. And as far as Y2K, it was a man-made event. And it's interesting because Y2K was the end of the last cycle, actually. So it was an end of a big cycle. It was the end of the last power cycle that brought us to this revolution. So it was the end of the normality, if anything. Ted rapidly. I disagree that the powers that be will start feeling bad. These creatures are possessed. They have no empathy as you and I do. They perform their evil deeds robotically and without a speck of guilt. The thing about it is I go through this whole we are one process, even if it's the most evilest of person that you might think of, even if it's the biggest of sweethearts, even if it's the dog on the street or the salmon in the fish. Everything is all one. Now, of course, each species has consciousness in a different way, but as far as humans or Homo sapiens are concerned, we all have the same type of the laws, or the laws of the universe, if you will. And one of the vibrations is by putting out negativity, you're going to get out negativity. One of the laws of the universe is every action has a reaction. So the action of putting out negativity brings the bad reactions, and one of them is feeling very bad in one form or another, and everyone's different and to some lengths. There's a lot of people right now who wouldn't still feel bad today. But as the time moves on towards this ascension process, they have no choice but to. And I think almost every human is going to feel really bad over the next 365, 7,000, 1,000, whatever amount of days it is until ascension. But you're also going to feel amazing because we go through different spurts. 1 week you feel great, 1 week you feel bad. That's very normal. But nonetheless, I have to say that it just feels to me that those who do negative things like that. I'm talking about the big people. If I take all the people who actually were in charge of 911 to the negative events of it, knew what they're doing, had some sort of part of it, that more than 50% in some way or form feel really bad about doing it. Whether they'll admit it or not, that's another thing, because they still got to admit that they did it. But if they talk amongst themselves, some might say, well, I still feel pretty bad for doing it, where one wouldn't even admit it. Now, I don't feel bad. It had to have been done. Yet deep down inside, they do feel bad. Read the Bible, fools. That's a big book. I haven't read the whole thing yet. I don't plan on it. In fact, I've probably only read in my life, at best, 4 or 5 books that contain at least 500 pages. If I can finish a whole book, that is big, folks. But to me, it's a book like almost any other book. That's my personal view on it. Everyone, of course, is different. If I see a lot of good stuff in there if you try to read between the lines, because one of the things that really hit me as a kid was that it wasn't written in English, at least not the English that I was learning at the time, and that was the big thing. Crazy Card Freak, always interesting listening to your ideas. Didn't realize today was a 3-year mark until you brought it up. Wow. Yeah, it's the 3-year mark. I was actually going to do one last year, and then I thought, nah, I didn't do it. We'll see what happens next year for the 2-year one. Slick C8, yeah, man, you rock. You are totally cool. Love Polarity, automatic writing, way cool. It's hard to let go of mind for me to do that. Haha, interesting. With more communication, there is more world catastrophe predictions. Has to get worse before it gets better with a question mark. And well, first, one of the reasons why it has to get worse is because it's just pretty evident that with the way we have used the law of attraction as far as what our thoughts and creations have put us to, the majority of the stuff is going to be that of negativity. And as much as I would want there to be a great world in 500 days, 700 days without all this bad stuff, quite frankly, it's mathematically impossible and would seem to break a universal law to be the case. And that's why I just know it's just not going to happen. However, over the next little period of time, majority of the people are going to be going through more negative events than positive, and almost every single human is going to go through different durations of both good and bad stuff. But the rare few will be able to have more positive than negative. And I don't know what the percentage is going to be, 10%, 20, 35, 40% humans. I think 40 might be pushing it. But it's going to have an extra amount of love frequency that is given to us also. And I was talking about what happens when you have, like before with the feeling bad for doing bad things like that. Yeah, that becomes a problem. But here's polarity as we talk about. When you do really good, then you get good back. And when you start to notice mass positivity, and I don't know how many people have, it's been few, and the experiences I have it are very minute, that there's going to be a problem of some degree of too much love. And I'm going to explain this more when I talk later on this year about biorhythms of energies going up and down, like the positive and negative. But yeah, if you are more positive, you're going to have this, and you do all these great things, you're going to have a huge feeling of love coming back. And quite frankly, I haven't myself had all that many mass feelings of love come to me, but I have had a few. And I do know that this type of energy is going to be the new kind of energy that's really going to change this world along for the better. But like I said, it's all about the percentage games. It doesn't seem likely for the majority of people to be positive until around or at the time of ascension. And then from that point on, where say today we are 3 years from the Mayan calendar date ending, let's just presume that 65% of us think negative every day. Then the law of polarity to me states that 3 years after ascension, 65% of the thoughts would be positive, 35% would be negative, and there still would be bad stuff going on and bad people, but a heck of a lot less bad stuff and a heck of a lot less bad people. And the final comment, a zombie infestation will break out on the Christmas Eve of 2012. Prepare for the flesh eaters, folks. The Mayans predicted it with their magical rites. This is like one of those once upon a times. But you know what? A lot of times, these different things could potentially happen. If it is universally possible, then you know what? It could happen. And this is universally possible, but extremely unlikely. But I really want to talk about this whole Christmas thing for different years, because next year we're going to have Christmas of 2010, then Christmas of 2011, and the final one for Ascension is 2012. Next year probably seems to be the final Christmas the way we're doing it now. Myself, I used to have the most of Christmas spirit in past years. It's almost a complete polarity now. And I really think 2011 people are going to be giving Christmas no emphasis whatsoever. Unless, of course, or not little emphasis, much less. Except for the few that would still do it. And of course, we'd have to have some truth of this date to continue some sort of celebration or some sort of an event. It's of course going to be remembered to some degree. But 2011 at the end, I just don't know how the world's going to be so much different, because we'll be almost at the end of this current cycle that we are just getting to the halfway point. And the last half of it was pretty much a full decade. So what happened in the first decade here is supposed to happen over the next 2.5 years. So a lot can happen by Christmas Eve of 2012. This has been fairly long, more like an audio cast. Let me know if you like these type of videos, because every so often these are pretty simple to do, and I get to say a lot of the stuff that I kind of want to talk about along the way. So just let me know what you think about these. Maybe I'll do it every so often. Take care, everyone.